few months ago, we were on a family vacation, and as usual, I took some time out to go thrift store hunting. This particular store did not have much to offer. It was incredibly small, not very well organized, and most of the merchandise looked like it had been there for quite some time. But tucked away on the top shelf was a lone film camera with the side showing, so all I saw was its black outline. I couldn't believe my luck when I pulled it down and saw that it was a Yashica T4, the legendary camera of choice of the infamous Terry Richardson. Granted, this is not the weatherproof model, but it's still a highly desirable camera, and I was very excited to have the opportunity to try it out, especially for the low price of $1.99. It has a few scratches on the body and shows some light wear, but the glass seemed perfectly fine, and when I put a battery in it, everything worked as it should. For this comparison, I was using very standard drugstore quality Fujifilm 200. While not a professional quality film, it was fresh, and I was generally pleased with the results. Since this camera had such an online reputation, I decided I wanted to try it out against a similar camera of much lesser value. The closest thing I had at the time was the Ricoh TF-200. This camera is much older than the Yashica, and not a direct comparison since it has a 38mm lens. The Ricoh also has the ability to switch to a telephoto lens, but for this comparison, I left it at the 38mm mark all the time. The Yashica has some obvious benefits with its small, sleek form factor. There were in fact some features of the Ricoh I preferred over the Yashica. For one, the Ricoh has a distance scale inside the viewfinder. It tells you if you're focusing on something close or far away. As many have pointed out, the Yashica will oftentimes choose the wrong subject to focus on. But my objective with this comparison was to test that exotic Carl Zeiss lens against the much more pedestrian Ricoh. I was truly surprised at how well the Ricoh held up, and in fact, at times surpassed the performance of the Yashica. When it comes to the flash performance, I generally preferred the look of the Ricoh's flashed pictures though, as it tended to be more even and had less of a hot spot in the middle. I also liked that the Ricoh's flash is off by default, and you have to choose when you want to use it, as opposed to the Yashica, who typically likes to use the flash, and you have to tell it not to. I will say that I preferred the field of view offered by the 35mm lens over that of the 38. Now, obviously you can simply take a step back and the 38 will look incredibly similar to the 35, but for all of these shots, I took them from exactly the same location so that you could see the difference that those 3mm make. As a good brick wall is apparently de rigueur for lens tests on the internet, I found my closest one and shot this first frame. As you can see, the sharpness is really not an issue. Both cameras performed admirably, and the colors, while different, were both pleasing. As you can see here, the Yashica seems to have rendered the tree leaves with more detail than the Ricoh, and with somewhat better contrast. This is a theme that we will see repeated in subsequent photos, where the Yashica tends to be slightly sharper and slightly more contrasty. So all in all, I thought the Ricoh did very well, and if you weren't comparing it side by side with the Yashica, you would think it took great photos. As it turns out, the Yashica was worth far too much more than what I paid for it to keep it. I ended up putting it on eBay, and it sold in less than an hour for $300. Thank you for watching, and until next time, keep looking for light.